Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Bennett, Colonel Cherry, and Command Sergeant Major Snow, distinguished guests, family members, and those watching from home on Facebook Live, welcome to the graduation of the Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO course, Class 23-003. My name is Master Sergeant Robert C. Garris III of the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion, and it is my pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for the entrance of the official party, national anthem, and the invocation. The official party consists of Major Malak T. White II, Strength Maintenance Training Battalion Commander, Mr. Anson Smith, Army National Guard Deputy G1, the Class Advisor to 1st Platoon, Sergeant First Class Joshua Hall, Class Advisor to 2nd Platoon, Mr. William Law, Class Advisor to the 3rd Platoon, Mr. Brutus Carter, Class Advisor to 4th Platoon, Mr. Donald Chappell, Class Advisor to 5th Platoon, Sergeant First Class Ryan Hazlett, Class Advisor to 6th Platoon, Miss Haley Kronk, Class Advisor to 7th Platoon, Mr. Heath Strickland, and the Class Advisor to 8th Platoon, Mr. Roger Easley. Today's invocation will be given by Sergeant Brandon Bullock of the Louisiana Army National Guard.
Good morning. Please bow your heads. Father God, we come to you as humbly as we know how as we gather to celebrate the newest graduates of the Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO course. Thank you for providing the presence of our leaders and loved ones in attendance and watching online. It is clear that you have well prepared Class 23-3 for this day. Thank you for endowing us with the abilities of mind, body, and spirit more than equal to the tasks we have accomplished during this course. You gave us outstanding leaders, mentors, and peers to guide us along this 5-week journey. Knowing the extensive trust that our leaders and communities have in us, we remember that to whom much is given, much is required. I ask you to direct our steps and give us the strength to carry out our new responsibilities. Endow us with the spirit of wisdom to lead those under our charge and change the lives of our communities while building a greater organization. Lead us in the way of peace, unite us in the spirit of service, cover us in all that we do. For these blessings and more, we thank you in advance. It is in your daughter's son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you today's guest speaker, Mr. Anson Smith, the Army National Guard Deputy G1. Mr. Anson Smith, a senior civilian within the Department of Defense, is the Deputy G1 for the Army National Guard. He provides the day-to-day overall direction, management, planning, coordination, and administration of the Army National Guard's service-wide civilian human resource programs. Mr. Smith also oversees matters involving management of civilian personnel, workforce management, planning, compensation, and diversity issues. Mr. Smith served in the U.S. Army for 25 years, retiring in 2013. He began his federal career as the Career Program Manager for the Army Financial Management Community in 2014. Prior to his current position, he was the Deputy Division Chief for the Strength Maintenance Division of the Army National Guard. Leveraging his over 22 years of experience in recruiting and retention operations, and was responsible for planning and executing policies, programs, and procedures to provide service support to commanders and other components at all 54 states and territories, to include areas of logistics, resources, communications, and mission support management. Mr. Smith provided oversight of marketing, contracting, and resources valued over $200 million annually. As the Senior Management Program Analyst at Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, for the Victim Assistance Program Unit, he directed the financial operations programs with budgets of between $500,000 to $1 million, including 36 forensic interviewers and 9 support staff. As the Deputy Chief of Proponency for the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Financial Management and Comptroller, he was responsible for building, executing. Please welcome Mr. Anson Smith.
Yeah. Thank you. Had we gone any longer, you probably would have missed your flights later on today. So I appreciate that. As I'm sitting there listening to my bio, I'm thinking like, man, that's me. And I say that from a position of humbleness. But before I speak, I want to recognize the families that are here. Thank you for coming to support your loved ones after this 5-week endeavor that they've obviously attained the right to graduate here today and represent the Army National Guard in their communities. And so for me, this is kind of like bittersweet. And I also need to apologize to Major White. I think I broke the number 1 rule and I made my flight prior to 1500, so I'm gonna have to leave right after. But to General Bennett, my boss, who's in the back, Colonel Cherry, CSM Snow, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today to this graduating class. It reminds me of a time when I was here, when I first was here over 20 years ago when I started my Title 10 tour. And as I look around the room, some of the same faces still work here at PEC that was here in 2003 when I came on board to become an instructor writer, like these gentlemen here on the stage. And that was kind of the beginning of my story, or almost the beginning of my purpose. But when I reflect back on my over 25 years of service, there was a day in 1987 where I didn't even know that this day would ever come. And so when I look back as I'm listening to the accomplishments that I achieved, I'm often reminded that those things may not have taken place had it not been for a recruiter who is just like you are sitting in this room today. You see, during a time in 1985 when I was in high school, I really didn't take high school seriously. And so as I went on to college, I really didn't take college seriously either. And so at some point I had to determine what did I want to take serious in life. And so for me, that decision was to join the Army. And so I walked into a recruiting station, and if any of you are familiar with the Future Soldier Prep course, let's just say, based on my ASVAB, I would have qualified for that course today. And so my recruiter did not just say, hey, you're not qualified, take a hike. He actually invested time and energy into me, which helped me to develop and to become the person that you just heard read on that bio. And so my story to you today is not about numbers. It's not about production. It's not about the mission. It's really about you as an individual and things that you need to do in order to not only take care of yourself, but also to take care of others. Because before you can take care of others, you must first learn to take care of yourself. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a story. And a story that all of you are probably familiar with in some form or another. So in 2020, obviously, when COVID-19 kind of ravaged our country and essentially shut us down, recruiting from that particular point in time entered into what I would define as a storm. And we continued into that storm until late 2022. But I'm here today to tell you that as we are in 2023, we are making a miraculous comeback. As of today, as of this morning, we are only 351 enlistments away from making our accession mission for the last 3 consecutive months, something we have not done since 2019. So you are coming into a period of time where the tide is really turning. You're coming into a time where the challenges that those before you had faced, they figured out a way to make it happen. They stayed the course. So they set the battlefield, or they set the expectations that will now allow you to leave this schoolhouse with your 5 weeks of training to actually step into a situation where you can truly be successful. But everyone is not going to experience that success right away. And so as I thought about what I want to talk to you about today, like I stated earlier, I wrote a speech about 3 weeks ago. But when I came here, you didn't see me, but I saw you. I walked around. I saw what you were doing. I saw you out at night behind Patriot with your hack and sack doing your thing, right? That's okay. Because those are some things that we have to do when we're in a stressful environment. We have to find ways to relieve that stress so we can function and be able to function in a manner that will make us successful. And so the question I would ask is, how do you explain when things don't go as planned? Because I'm sure as long as you've been here, the number one thing they talked about was making a plan, setting goals. And we go through this process and we use this training to make those plans and set those goals. Or better, we ask, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all assumptions? Your plan may not work, but then you see others whose plan may be similar to yours or might not be as comprehensive as yours, and yet they're being successful. And so the great Mike Tyson, if you're familiar with him, the great Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And so typically, as a fighter, you have a plan. You want to execute that plan. But when you get punched in the mouth, you have to deviate from that plan. But you have to rely on the skills and the training that you accumulated over years and years to be able to now adjust and adapt to whatever that situation is. This 5-week course prepared you to be able to adjust to your plan. This 5-week course prepared you to be able to adapt to the changing environment that you're going to experience when your plan doesn't work. So for my time, I would like to talk about when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. And essentially what that means is when you're green, you're constantly learning. You don't leave here and forget the institutional knowledge that you receive. You don't leave here and go back and do things that are not in line with what you learn here, not in line with the principles and the tools that you were taught to be successful here. When you get home and you throw away all your knowledge, you throw away all your experiences that you created while you were here, you begin to rot because you're no longer developing yourself to get better at your craft. These gentlemen on stage, these ladies on stage, they're your conduit to questions that you may have related to what you learned when you get back to the field. I'm sure they would share their information with you to contact them to be able to answer questions about things or situations that you may find yourself in that you may not necessarily understand how to navigate. And so some think that being agile means not having a plan. But that's the same as saying that a salesperson pursuing an applicant is not persistent. Not so coincidentally, agile is based on persistence and, most importantly, planning. As R&R NCOs, your plans will be challenged by your environment. Your plans will be challenged by the target market. It will be challenged by social media. But you cannot allow other people's limited perception define not only your organization, but define who you are and what you represent. Instead, you must pivot and remember that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for and protected. And you who are sitting in this room are an integral part of ensuring that the soldiers that you enlist in the Army National Guard are retained as well. Which means that you have a 3-tenet mission. It's not only about recruiting, but it's also about retention and attrition management. The sign on the wall says readiness starts here. Readiness starts here at the Professional Education Center. So it's your charge to take that information that you've learned, to talk to those soldiers that you enlist in the Army National Guard, to build a relationship with those individuals that are in the RSP, to make those relationships and build those connections so they can bring you referrals, so you can make a difference in the community that you're in. I'll tell you a quick story. We were in Orlando, Florida, in the mall. An Army recruiter walked by. He said, "Hey, ma'am," talking to my boss, "this is Sergeant or Private Ortiz. He's never seen a general." So she stood up and she shook his hand, and she pointed to me and she told the recruiter he was a recruiter also. His response was, "Oh, I bet I was better than him." First of all, you don't know me. And so he walked over to me. I'm not going to tell you what he said, but he gave me his analogy about why he was better than me as a recruiter. And my response to his analogy, that's the difference between you and I. You recruit in places where people are unqualified to make them qualified. I recruit people to change lives and give them opportunity to better themselves, better their community, better their situation. That's what made me successful. It wasn't about a number. It was about that recruiter who changed my life. It was about me giving back to do the same thing. And so when we talk about what is your purpose is defined in your plan. In recruiting, just like the analogy from Mike Tyson, your punch in the mouth will come in the form of no. Your punch in the mouth will come from the no-show when you've worked the applicant all day, several days, weeks. You make an appointment and they no-show. You call them, they don't answer. When they do answer, they're not interested. That's your punch in the mouth. And so the truth is, you don't know what's going to happen. It's a crapshoot at best. We do our best to make a great impression on these young men and these young women, to show them how our organization is the best for them to achieve what their goals are. In order to do that, you will learn through your experience. You must learn to listen instead of speaking when you're talking to applicants. Because the applicant will tell you exactly what they want. But if you're talking when they're talking, you will talk them out of the things that they're trying to tell you because you're not listening. But understand that in this business, you will work hard for what you want, because it will not come without some perseverance. It will not come without some scar tissue. It will not come without long nights, long days, early mornings. But you must stay the course, stay strong. Know that you can achieve success if you follow the principles and utilize the tools that were taught the past 5 weeks. And just keep believing in yourself and turning a negative into a positive. As young RNCOs, success is all about growing yourself. And that growth in yourself today will prepare you for the positions you will hold tomorrow. Section Chief, NCOIC, Sergeant Major. It's that time your success will be about how do you grow others? How do you help develop others to be the leaders that you have become? That's your purpose. I made mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I'm not perfect. But I believed in myself, and I found ways to express myself and the discipline to keep going. This life is made up of mistakes and learning, waiting, and growing. But you must remain patient and persistent, and you will find success. If you're afraid to fail, then you're probably going to fail. The great Kobe Bryant. Everything negative, to include pressure and challenges, it's all an opportunity for you to rise above that and be the NCO and RNCOs that your states your territories, know that you can become. Character and discipline. It's a two-way door. That was my blueprint. Without character, without discipline, I would not be able to achieve the things that were read off in my bio. In 2008, as an instructor here at SMTC at the time, I was riding my motorcycle on Interstate 40. Many of you have probably traveled that road. It was one Saturday morning. As I was entering onto 40 off 167, a motorist, she didn't see me. So she hit me. And that day, my life literally flashed in real time. But the only thing that it deterred me from was riding motorcycles. Because at that point, I had a mission. I knew I only had one life, and I had to make the most of it. And so that was a day that changed my purpose for me. So the thing that I want to share with you today that I believe is the most important, as many of you are aware, or you may not be, but now you do, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health in this country, since COVID-19, the isolation, those are things that have really impacted our community, impacted the young people, impacted you, impacted me in a very negative way. And so we have to find a way not only to care for ourselves, because in order to care for others, in order to give those individuals in your communities what they need, you must first feel or fuel the needs of your own. Being an R&R NCO can be a very stressful proposition. It's okay. It's okay to take time for yourself. You give so much of yourself to others, and from time to time, you need to refuel both mentally and physically to not only stay in balance, but it would also help you when you're interacting with the public, when you're interacting at home with your family, when you're interacting with kids in the community, when you're interacting with COIs and VIPs. That's the purpose of self-care. Self-care includes all things you do to take care of your well-being in 4 key areas: emotional, physical, psychological, and spiritual health. By emotional, I mean you should surround yourself with positive people. You should always learn or continue to learn about things that make you better. From a physical standpoint, you'll spend a lot of long days driving the MEPS, a lot of long nights at the Met sites. So you got to make sure that you eat right. You got to make sure you drink plenty of water. You got to make sure that you exercise, because that physical stamina is going to be required in order to be successful in this business. The psychological aspect of it. Continue to do activities that are for your own personal and professional development. That's going to be critical, because this job is going to have you thinking that you can't do it. So psychologically, you have to stay up to date on things that are going to keep you motivated. Motivation is one of those things that don't last long. So you have to find ways to motivate yourself. You have to find ways to make yourself get up and go. And then the last thing is your spiritual health. If you pray, pray. If you meditate, meditate. But identify within yourself what is the meaning of your work and what is the meaning of your life. And if you take that holistic approach to take care of yourself, then you will be able to go out and do this job successfully without any reservation. Because trust me, if you feel good, like Deion Sanders say, if you feel good, you look good, you play good, they pay good. So think about it from that terms. Think about it how you can improve yourself, and that will definitely lead into how you will operate as a R&R NCO. And so I just stopped by for a minute, thank you, to tell you that if you green, you grow. If you ripe, you rot. So don't ever stop learning. Don't ever stop communicating. And I believe you have the potential, as all your instructors do, to be the best R&R NCOs to ever come through this course. Thank you.
Sir, thank you for those inspiring words. Now, a short video from family and friends of our graduating students.
Congratulations, Sergeant Juan Camacho.
Congratulations, Sergeant Camacho. You did it!
All right. Congratulations, Sergeant Vance. We love you.
Ryan.
Miss
Congratulations,
you.
son.
Yay.
We're proud of you.
Congratulations, Jameson. I love you, Daddy.
Hi, Daniel. Chandler and I wanted to say congratulations, and we're very proud of you. We love you. Chandler, say Dada. Say Dada. There we go. He said Dada. We love you, and we're very proud of you. Can't wait for you to come home.
Congratulations, Staff Sergeant D'Onofrio. Wish we were there. Love you. Mwah.
Congratulations, Sergeant Camacho. We love you.
We're proud of you.
And we'll see you soon. I love you. Mwah.
Congratulations, Sergeant Reed, on completing SQI4. Only took you 2 times, but you are our team's #1 recruiter. Congrats, we love you. We're waiting for you to get home.
We miss you. Hi, Daddy. And we're super proud of you. Hi, Daddy. I appreciate you. Congratulations, Mommy. I saw you graduated today.
From Area 7, congratulations, Specialist Beaver, Sergeant English.
Make it look easy.
Congratulations, Mom.
Proud of you. Good job.
We love you.
Bye-bye, Mommy.
Bye.
Off a day, congratulations, Sergeant Camacho. Hurry back. The coffee's not gonna make itself, and the trash is getting full.
Puerto Rico National Guard, we want to recognize Sergeant Steven Molina and Santiago Melway on the job well done in SQI4.
Hola, great job. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Felicidades!
Congratulations. We knew you could do it. We love and miss you.
Love and miss you. Congratulations, Sergeant Williams. We love you, Daddy.
We wish we could be there to celebrate with you, but we'll see you soon. Love you.
Congratulations, Sergeant Reed. Love you, Daddy. Congratulations.
Say we miss you. And we'll see you soon.
Say we're so proud of you. Say I love you, Dada. Mwah. Mwah.
I am Master Sergeant Gretchen Caraballo from the Puerto Rico Army National Guard. I want to congratulate Sergeant Steven Molina for this new achievement. It's good to be a recruiter. See you soon.
Congratulations, Staff Sergeant Shane Hillman. Love, Mom and Dad. See you in Ohio soon.
Love you, buddy.
Bye.
Hey baby, we just wanted to congratulate you on your recruiter status. We love you, miss you, can't wait to see you.
I want to congratulate my favorite daughter on her recruiter status on Sergeant Reed. So congratulations, love you.
Love you, baby.
Congratulations, Sergeant Melissa Ann McCarthy. We're so proud of you, and we can't wait to see you when you get home. We love you.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Congratulations, Michaela Hunt.
We so proud of you.
Congratulations, Michaela. Wish we were there. Congrats, cousin. Miss you. Congratulations, God.
Congratulations, Sergeant Lowry. I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait for you to get home.
Congratulations, Specialist Gentry.
Congratulations, Michaela. See you when you get home. Have that meal prepared that you asked for.
Happy graduation, Daddy. I love you.
We love you, Scott.
I love you.
Aw, we're proud of you, Daddy. We love you. We're ready for you to come home, and we appreciate everything you do for us. Little kiss? Mwah.
Congratulations, Daddy. I love you and I miss you. I wish you were home.
Congratulations, Sergeant Smith. I love you. I'm so proud of you, and I'll see you soon.
Congratulations, Scott.
Hi, Brandon. I just want to say congratulations. I'm proud of you. I love you.
Congratulations, Class 23-003. On behalf of the Iowa National Guard and Team Beast, we want to send a special shout out to Sergeant Black Campion and Sergeant Foster. Team Beast!
Congratulations!
We never doubted you.
Big triple duels here, you already know. We knew you would make it. We love you.
Sergeant McCarthy, we're all so proud of you. Congratulations. I can't wait to celebrate with you.
Congratulations, Sergeant Curran! One sound!
At this time, each class advisor will address their platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas will follow. Please hold your applause until all students have received their diplomas. The class advisor for 1st Platoon, Sergeant First Class Joshua Hall.
Morning, 1st Platoon. Before I start, I'd like to thank my assistant instructor. You just got to start with this, Mr. Smith. You're my yin to my yang, crutch in my unstable walk recently. So I want to thank you, and also our assistant instructor, Mr. Dacus, the honorable step in. This class's success wouldn't have been just even an issue without you guys, okay? So now let's talk to 1st Platoon. We're not going to talk about myself. We heard about that enough for the past 5 weeks. So let's talk about you. Day one said it was going to be different, right? Said we're going to do things different. But you guys stood the course. You guys did the work. We were just instructors giving you the knowledge. You're the one who had to go back, study, memorize, recite, practice, and then come and show up and evaluate. And it didn't stop on Tuesday or Wednesday when we had our last evals, did it? No, it went all the way to yesterday. I didn't earn that trophy. You guys did because you are top show. So now, enough about you. This will be your last lesson plan, Sergeants. You're going to go out there. Some will be successful. Some will fail. You will lose. But in the process, you may embarrass yourself. But when you do that, fall forward. Some of this might sound familiar to you. When you fail, and when you fall forward, Sergeants, revert back to the training and the science of recruiting and retention. Reapply the science and reapply your art of making that picture. Paint that picture for these civilians. Figure out their why. As Mr. Smith said, if you're talking when they're talking, you're not listening. So apply that science. There's an old saying, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. Same thing in recruiting and retention. Continue talking to people. Continue getting in your schools. Be available in your community, and eventually the science and the data will kick in and produce results for you. Every graduate here has the training to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail? Let me ask you that again. Do you have the guts to fail? Because if you don't fail, you're not even trying. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. And that's what you're going to do now. Get out there in your communities, give it all you've got, Sergeants. Never be discouraged, never hold back. It may be frightening, but it'll be rewarding, and that's what will define you. Now, I can't let you out of here early, but what we can do is
prepare to graduate.
Sergeant Naomi Acevedo Matias. Specialist Zachary Adams. Sergeant Alexander Aguilar Navarro. Sergeant Jacob Allison. Staff Sergeant Scott Bailey. Sergeant Jordan Barker. Staff Sergeant Christian Barksdale. Staff Sergeant Terry Bell. Staff Sergeant Brian Black. Sergeant Megan Black Campion. Sergeant Jonathan Blach. Sergeant Kevin Bolig. Staff Sergeant Kevin Bradbury. Sergeant Stephen Brewer. Staff Sergeant Spencer Brinjack. Staff Sergeant Destiny Brown. Sergeant Brandon Bullock. Sergeant Albert Bush. Sergeant Zachary Bush. Specialist Hunter Byers. Specialist Diego Cajamarca. Sergeant Kaylee Madison. Sergeant Daniel Nye. The platoon sergeant for 1st Platoon is Specialist Noah Beaver, Virginia Army National Guard. Specialist Beaver will also receive a Certificate of Excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 1st Platoon. The class advisor for 2nd Platoon is Mr. William Law.
It was rigged anyway. It's okay. All right, good morning, second. Hey, before we get into you, I'd like to thank Mr. Sims. He's an excellent partner to have the whole time. Made everything extremely easy. I don't think I did any admin stuff whatsoever. He handled it all. It was great. All right, so I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and I've never seen a group of people come together so quick. There was no awkward time or a time when y'all didn't feel like you could go out there and say exactly what you were thinking. There's no time that I didn't fully believe in the capabilities of you as a platoon. Day one, I asked you if you had heard of the saying of a starving artist, and I think most people in here did. Then I asked if you ever heard of a starving scientist. Over the last 5 weeks here at SQI4, we've gone over the science behind what it is to be successful in our NCO. And I want you to remember that as you're out there performing these duties. You're going to add some art to your mix, but you should never abandon the science that we learned over the past 5 weeks. Take that science and go out there and change lives like I know you can. Prepare. Graduate.
Sergeant Juan Camacho. Staff Sergeant Dan Carnicer. Sergeant Diamond Carthen. Sergeant Mario Castaneda. Sergeant Jocelyn Castaneda Mauricio. Sergeant First Class Earl Castle. Specialist Carla Castro. Specialist Daniel Caudle. Staff Sergeant Kyle Chuckran. Sergeant First Class William Cisco. Staff Sergeant Dylan Cooley. Staff Sergeant Elena Coriz. Sergeant Julia Curran. Staff Sergeant Kyle Chaplensky. Sergeant Aaliyah Daniel. Staff Sergeant Alyssa Davidson. Staff Sergeant Michael Davis. Staff Sergeant Richard DeBarros. Sergeant Zaina Diallo. Sergeant Dicelsia Reese. The platoon sergeant for 2nd Platoon is Sergeant First Class Sean Casto, Ohio Army National Guard. Sergeant First Class Casto will also receive a Certificate of Excellence for his dedicated work as Platoon Sergeant for 2nd Platoon. The class advisor for 3rd Platoon, Mr. Brutus Carter.
Good morning. Thank you, Sergeant Hatfield. Although you didn't make it to the 5th week, couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for the guest instructors that came and helped me this last week. Really had been a great class. Really, truly an honor and a blessing. We've had some fun times, and we started without a badge. Now we're here. And now we're here. You're way better than any class I've ever had. Yeah, way better. Even Sergeant Fox. Now, honestly, we've given you the tools over the last 5 weeks to be successful. It's on you to sharpen those tools, always prospect, always build relationships, always get better than you were the last day before. You do that, watch out for yourself, watch out for your own mental health, and you'll be successful as you know you will be. Prepare to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Paul Dang. Sergeant Joshua Diaz. Sergeant Michael Diaz. Staff Sergeant Alex Dickey. Staff Sergeant Giovanna D'Onofrio. Sergeant Antonio Edwards. Specialist William Enfinger. Sergeant Shayna English. Staff Sergeant Angel Estella Padilla. Sergeant Zachary Fenton. Staff Sergeant Nicholas Fields. Sergeant Gordon Finau. Specialist Joshua Foscato. Sergeant Sawyer Foster. Sergeant Angelo Fox. Staff Sergeant Edward Gathman. Specialist Maureen Gentry. Staff Sergeant Corey Greenwood. Sergeant Brandon Gudgel. Sergeant Trevor Hagan. The platoon sergeant for 3rd Platoon is Sergeant Zachary Enriquez, Texas Army National Guard. Sergeant Enriquez will also receive a certificate of excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant of 3rd Platoon. Class Advisor for 4th Platoon, Mr. Donald Chappell.
Good morning, 4th Platoon. First, I'd like to start off by thanking Sergeant First Class Bays. Sergeant First Class Bays, you've truly been amazing over the last 5 weeks. I know this is your first cycle and you're still learning the ropes and everything, but I truly think you have what it takes to be a really excellent instructor. And I'm glad that I had the honor of being able to work with you this cycle. So thank you so much for everything you did to help me there. 4th Platoon. It's been a long 5 weeks, right? We've gone through so many different adversities through this course, and we realized that Mr. Chappell and Sergeant Bays are actually very strict with our grading and how we do things, but we did that for a reason. We wanted to set you guys up for success. We wanted to make sure that you guys had what it takes to actually accomplish the mission and do the things that you need to do. With this job, you need to make sure that you're humble, you're hungry, and you're passionate. With that hunger, you have to have that drive to go out there and do this job every single day so that you can be successful in the things that you need to accomplish on a daily basis. Being humble comes with what Mr. Smith was saying earlier about making sure that you understand that you are going to deal with rejection every single day. This job is full of that. I told you several times throughout this course that it's spooky season out there on those streets, right? We need to make sure, applicants turn into ghosts every single day. But with that last piece I want to leave you with is that passion, right? Be passionate about the Army National Guard. Be passionate about the product that you sell. And ultimately, you guys will achieve that mission and you'll do great things. Prepare to graduate.
Sergeant Wyatt Hammond. Staff Sergeant Benjamin Hanley. Staff Sergeant Sidney Hayes. Sergeant Jesse Helton. Sergeant Payne Hendricks. Sergeant Jacob Higgins. Specialist Scott Hightower. Staff Sergeant Shane Hillman. Staff Sergeant Anthony Hitchens. Staff Sergeant Trevor Holdsworth. Staff Sergeant Christopher Holland. Sergeant Michaela Hunt. Staff Sergeant James Jackson. Staff Sergeant Aaron Jacobson. Sergeant Brandon Jacoby. Specialist Brandon Jumanram. Specialist Mackenzie Jameson. Sergeant Andrew Jelinski. Staff Sergeant Dana Johnson. Staff Sergeant Casey Jones. Sergeant Robert Jones. The platoon sergeant for 4th Platoon is Sergeant First Class Jamie Huffstetler, North Carolina Army National Guard. Sergeant First Class Huffstetler will also receive a Certificate of Excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 4th Platoon. The class advisor for 5th Platoon, Sergeant First Class Ryan Hazlett.
I'd like to start and congratulate everybody for making it to this day to be graduates of SQI4. I must now thank Mr. Harrison, because without him as a fellow instructor, we would not have been able to get through these 5 weeks. And with that, now let's talk about 5th Platoon. The best 5th Platoon I had this cycle. So it's challenging for us because we never know what we're going to get. We don't know which 24 to 25 students we're going to get, what kind of soldiers they are, what kind of NCOs they are. And I have to say, and this will probably go to y'all's heads, you are the best group of non-commissioned officers and soldiers that I've had the pleasure and honor to instruct here while here at SMTB. So for that, thank you. You represent your states and your territories extremely well, and I cannot always say that. For the members of leadership here, you have phenomenal soldiers going back to your force. And again, I cannot always say that. I wish each and every one of you success in your 3-tenet mission. That mission is to recruit, to retain, and to manage the attrition. We have 3 tenets. For the love of God, attempt to succeed in all the tenets. Do not forget what we have taught you. Some of you showed up here with the riz to be successful in the streets, as are our NCOs. Some of you guys we worked with, we did the absolute best we could to help you develop what little riz you had. Some of you guys are going to keep your cash money. Some of you guys not so much. But do the best that you can. And remember, silence, violence, silence. Mission first, people always. Good luck, go forth, good hunting. Prepare to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Sean Jones. Sergeant Andrew Joseph. Sergeant Eric Juarez Resendez. Staff Sergeant Jeremy Kempt. Staff Sergeant Raven Kennedy. Sergeant Aaron Kilgore. Sergeant Minsuk Kim. Staff Sergeant Alan King. Sergeant Zachary Kleinfelder. Sergeant Isaac Kubza. Sergeant Anfisa Kukoda. Sergeant Eric Lee. Sergeant Daryl Leathed. Staff Sergeant Christian LePage. Staff Sergeant Timothy Lopez. Sergeant First Class Jordan Lowry. Sergeant Janitzi Luke. Staff Sergeant Christian Lynch. Staff Sergeant Raven Brandon Marshall. Staff Sergeant Angel Martinez III. Sergeant Celie Messina. Sergeant Melissa McCarthy. Specialist Jacob McDowell. The platoon sergeant for 5th Platoon is Specialist Austin Martin, Virginia Army National Guard. Specialist Martin will also receive a Certificate of Excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 5th Platoon. The class advisor for 6th Platoon, Miss Haley Kronk.
The downside of being 6th Platoon is that every cliche I plan to say has already been said. The benefit is that my speech is really short now, so thank you guys. I'd also like to thank Mr. Parker and Sergeant Chambers. Without them, their leadership and guidance and spice, none of us would be here today. So on behalf of 6th Platoon, thank you guys. 6th Platoon, it would not be a day with Miss Kronk speaking if I did not sneak in at least one Dear Diary. You're welcome. Last night I asked Mr. Parker and Sergeant Chambers what final piece of advice they would offer you had I not been the one to lose rock, paper, scissors and be standing here giving this speech. In true fashion, Sergeant Chambers said, be authentically yourself. And Mr. Parker said, run. Remain humble, understand where you come from, and never quit. I have said a lot over these last 5 weeks, so I will leave you with this. You have been given a beautiful opportunity to serve as an RRNCO. You will have the firsthand ability to shape our future formation. And this job is not for the faint of heart, nor people that are easily discouraged. You're gonna have really great days, and you're gonna have some not so good days. In the light of both, I remind you guys and encourage you to remember your why you became an RRNCO. Embrace that why and use it to motivate you to be a better version of yourself than the day before. And as the last time I get to address you, another one. Prepare to graduate.
Sergeant Orlando Medina. Sergeant Quentin Michelle. Sergeant Stephen Molina. Sergeant Nathan Monroe. Staff Sergeant Renee Moreno. Sergeant Victoria Mullins. Sergeant Raven Myers. Sergeant Samuel Nelson. Staff Sergeant Morgan Neumann. Staff Sergeant Randy Parton. Staff Sergeant Tostin Parvinen. Sergeant Kyle Paw. Sergeant Jimmy Payton. Staff Sergeant David Penn. Staff Sergeant Devin Pomeransky. Staff Sergeant Cassandra Portelli. Staff Sergeant Joshua Purinton. Sergeant Kirsten Reed. Staff Sergeant Morgan Reard. Sergeant Alexandra Rexford. Staff Sergeant David Young. The platoon sergeant for 6th Platoon is Sergeant Jose Mercado, Alaska Army National Guard. Sergeant Mercado will also receive a certificate of excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 6th Platoon. The class advisor for 7th Platoon, Mr. Heath Strickland.
This briefing is unclassified and should last between 9 and 13 minutes. Is that okay? You guys good with that? Oh, all jokes aside, I'd like to thank Mr. Kelly for being a good cop to my bad cop. Or was it bad cop, bad cop? Good cop, bad cop? Regardless. Hey, honestly, I joke around a lot, but being serious right now for about 5 minutes, you guys made it an absolute joy to come to class every day. Seriously. I mean, every day you guys came to class with a smile. You came ready to work. I mean, some of you were late from time to time, but that's okay. But I'm just kidding. Hey, this job, 90% of the time, is the absolute best job in the world. 10% of the time, it is absolutely even more awesome. No, it's what you do in that 10% of the time is what defines you, okay? Really, it really defines you, that 10% of the time, okay? So I want you to go home, take care of yourself, take care of your soldiers, and most of all, take care of your families, okay? Love you guys. Prepared to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Chelsea Roberts. Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez. Staff Sergeant Andrew Romig. Staff Sergeant Denton Roan. Sergeant Antonio Rosso. Sergeant First Class Gavin Rossman. Sergeant Cheyenne Royer. Sergeant Rudy Sagan. Sergeant Alexia Sandoval. Staff Sergeant Antonio Santiago IV. Sergeant Merwing Santiago. Sergeant Cameron Scales. Staff Sergeant Brett Schmidt. Staff Sergeant Robert Sehan. Specialist Parrish Short. Specialist Jordan Simpson. Staff Sergeant Dustin Sims. Sergeant Austin Smith. Sergeant Malia Smith. Sergeant Tyler Stankovich. Sergeant Taquan Stewart. The platoon sergeant for 7th Platoon is Sergeant First Class Joshua Rodriguez, Nevada Army National Guard. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez will also receive a Certificate of Excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 7th Platoon. The class advisor for 8th Platoon, Mr. Roger Easley.
Before I address 8th Platoon, I'd like to thank Barry Anderson, Mr. Anderson. He's at his daughter's graduation this morning. Hope he gets safe travels back from Texas. And also, my squirrel, Mr. Dacus. This class wouldn't be the class without you, and I do appreciate it. But you're my squirrel, right? 8th Platoon. I talked to you yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time other than this. I'm in the first day of class. Y'all thought, who is this old man they just introduced as your instructor? He looks mean. I only lost my temper twice, and I'm sure y'all got a video of it. And y'all thought, well, this old sergeant major is going to toast us, but we worked together, didn't we? Y'all are a great class. I really appreciate the hard work. I'm glad that you grew, and I grew in Sergeant First Class White with a platoon sergeant. You had your hands full, Sergeant. I appreciate your work. I told you a story about the watch. When you leave here, anytime you have an issue with integrity, you take that watch, you put it to your face, and ask yourself, this is my family, my future, and this reflection, is it worth it? Be brief, be good, and be gone. Prepare, graduate.
Staff Sergeant Laney Haley. Staff Sergeant Tyler Smith. Specialist Aaron Stickles. Sergeant Corey Stilson. Staff Sergeant William Strass. Staff Sergeant Matthew Stritch. Sergeant Griffin Sutherland. Staff Sergeant Barnaby Tiatia. Staff Sergeant Lindsay Chida. Sergeant Ryan Vance. Staff Sergeant Christopher Vaught. Specialist Carlos Vega. Sergeant Keith Venus. Specialist Jace Walker. Sergeant Morgan Wareham. Specialist Emily Watts. Staff Sergeant Melissa Weigel. Sergeant Nicholas White. Staff Sergeant Jason Williams. Staff Sergeant Robert Winward. Corporal Caleb Wood. Sergeant Brandon Woods. Sergeant Christopher Jong. The platoon sergeant for 8th Platoon, Sergeant First Class Jason White, Texas Army National Guard. Sergeant First Class White will also receive a certificate of excellence for his dedicated work as platoon sergeant for 8th Platoon. Please join me in a round of applause for all of our newest R&R NCOs. At this time, the battalion commander for the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion, Major White, will recognize the Iron Soldier Award. During the first week of the course, soldiers took the Army Combat Fitness Test. The Iron Soldier Award is awarded to the soldier with the highest Army Combat Fitness Test score. The Iron Soldier Award for the Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO Course 23-003 is Sergeant Zachary Kleinfelder, Tennessee Army National Guard, with a score of 590 out of 600. At this time, the battalion commander for the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion, Major White, will recognize the Leadership Award for Celebrating Excellence. Throughout the 5 weeks of this course, 5 soldiers were tested on their ability to perform duties as the Student First Sergeant. The Celebrating Excellence Award is presented to the Student First Sergeant who performed their duties with excellence. The Leadership Award for Celebrating Excellence for the Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO Course, Class 23-003 is Sergeant First Class Earl Castle, Ohio Army National Guard. At this time, the battalion commander for the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion, Major White, will recognize the Academic Achievement Award. The Academic Achievement Award is awarded to the soldier with the highest cumulative academic grade point average in the class. The Academic Achievement Award for the Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO Course, Class 23-003 is Staff Sergeant Dustin Sims, Indiana Army National Guard. At this time, the battalion commander for the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion, Major White, will recognize the Distinguished Honor Graduate. The Distinguished Honor Graduate is awarded to the soldier with the highest cumulative academic grade point average combined with the highest Army Combat Fitness Test score in the class. The Distinguished Honor Graduate for the Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiting and Retention NCO course, Class 23-003 is Sergeant Zachary Enriquez, Texas Army National Guard. Please give one more round of applause to all of our newest R&R NCOs. At this time, Major White will present a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Strength Maintenance Training Battalion to our guest speaker for today's ceremonies, Mr. Anson Smith, Army National Guard, Deputy G1. Ladies and gentlemen, these soldiers have spent countless hours over the last 5 weeks learning the skills and knowledge necessary to earn the Army National Guard Basic Recruiting and Retention Badge. Introduced in the mid-'70s, the Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention Badge is the only special skills badge that has been established solely for the National Guard. Very appropriate, since MOS 79 Tango Recruiting and Retention NCO is only for National Guard members. The design of the Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention Badge underwent a significant revision in 2007 after the director of the Army National Guard requested a badge featuring symbolism and heraldic features that more accurately reflected the Army National Guard recruiting and retention mission. The current design was approved on May 12, 2008. These soldiers have dedicated themselves and time to not only earn the Army National Guard Basic Recruiting and Retention Badge, but to serve as the newest recruiting and retention NCOs across the nation. We will now conduct the pinning ceremony. You have 5 minutes to conduct your pinning.
Contract only.
Oh, yeah. Doing good. Do you mind? Do this? Do you have a good experience? I'll get it back to the center and see if it's respectful before you wear it to eagle training. Okay, so we'll try to get all 5 Missouri. So, it's higher than yours. You let him know.
There we go.
You gotta go through some.
It's a lot different than any other school.
Let's go, Missouri.
Hey, after this is over.
Flex post that one. He's got to start.
Please return to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for the benediction and exit of the official party. Today's benediction will be given by Sergeant Angelo Fox of the Ohio Army National Guard.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us here today and for giving us the strength and knowledge needed to make it to this graduation day. We thank you for our instructors. We thank you for putting them in place to help guide us and also the friendships that were created in the process. I pray that as this class comes to an end, each and every individual takes what they have learned throughout this course and goes on to be successful R&R NCOs, and that they are able to make an impact on others. We thank you for the great times and also the hard times that have allowed us to see growth within ourselves. I pray your hand is upon each and every person in this room, and that your spirit guides them as they depart. Thank you. Amen.
Class 23-003,